name and my reputation. I don't want to be tied to it. And I think if this had happened 5 or 6 years ago on the show, we might not have seen that conversation, but the world has changed. Social media has changed. Social media will do a guilty by association real fucking quick. And so I can understand where Sutton is like, I don't want to be connected in this. But it was very interesting when Sutton was talking about being contacted by a lawyer. So I'm wondering, was she contacted by Jay Edelson or Ron Richards? Like, who's contacting Sutton and having that conversation? But of course, the lawyers involved in this are going to reach out to anyone who might know something and try to figure out what they know. And Sutton seemed to be the most vocal, asking questions. But the women also don't seem to want to face the wrath of Erika and really ask the questions. Sutton and Garcelle are kind of out on their own with that.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I assume they're talking about Ronald Richards. Like, he's just calling everyone in the cast. And, you know,
I
like,
figured. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just assuming. Right. And you think one day, I mean, we could see in Beverly Hills that doesn't have Erika on it, like for these reasons. Like, you think Bravo would actually get to like, we're kind of done with this? I mean, we know that
the ratings are good, right? So I think it would take the audience to be like, I'm not watching this. And everybody's locked in and watching it, whether they're hate watching it or train watching it or just train wreck watching it or just wanting to see how this ends. Because there's no end to this. This is a season after season, chapter after chapter, year after year story that's still unfolding. And you never know what's going to happen next. And I think that captivates an audience. You can't make this stuff up. And we see it drop in the press. And then you're like, our camera's rolling. It's the first thing we all ask when this stuff happens. It's like, but wait, is Bravo filming right now? And we want to see how it plays out behind the scenes with the women too. I think it would be hard for me to watch Beverly Hills without Sutton and Garcelle asking some questions. Watching everyone else just be pretending like everything's normal and fine would not be interesting to me as a viewer.
Yeah, I agree. I think Garcelle and Sutton, you know, are the only two people that are saying this doesn't make any sense. I mean, in different ways, like when Garcelle is like, wait, I mean, Erika's acting like, you know, this doesn't exist anymore. Like, hello, slow down.
Yeah. I think we're seeing Erika go through a much more human experience this season. And really, you can see how much this is all wearing on her. And I wonder if the audience, you know, is just sitting there going, oh, you know, we finally cracked the cold exterior. Now we're finally seeing how painful this is. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing that everybody's like, we want to keep watching the downfall. Like, where's the rest of the spiral? But I don't think Bravo's going to say, hey, it's time to pull the plug on this while it's still unfolding.
I don't think so either. I think eventually, if like it's the same thing and like nothing, the needle's not moving, people are just going to be like, whatever, we don't care anymore.
But will she be allowed to move on? I mean, does the audience want to hear about her dating life and the sex that she's having? Or are people like, look, this is still, until the bankruptcy is resolved, this is still unresolved. So the rest of it feels kind of trite and trivial. And Erika's like, but I have to move on with my life. And the audience is going, well, Girardi's clients aren't able to move on with their life while this is going on either. So it feels like people don't want her to be able to move on because she's not clear of this.
Yeah. I mean, I personally think the needle has moved just a tiny bit, where maybe 5% of the people are softer on Erika now. And I still think, you know, out of the 95% that couldn't stand her last season, I think they still can't. Maybe now it's 90% of those 95 that still want Erika to have absolutely no life. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And we'll see how she navigates it. No matter what she knew or didn't know, what she's navigating is hard. What Girardi's clients are navigating is hard. Can you imagine being like, oh, I'm waiting for my lawyer to pay me, and then seeing all of this unravel going, wait, what? This is funding this lifestyle? I mean, it's just, there's so many people that have been impacted by this. Erika's just the one that we're watching it play out publicly with.
Right. And like, look, your lifestyle has changed drastically, but still, again, your bungalow is still 2,000 square feet, however, everything's being paid for. There's still a Range Rover. You still have the assistant and Mikey, whether doing it for free or what.
There's hair, there's makeup, there's a pool.
I mean, you're still walking around. That Gucci bag is not the same Louis Vuitton bag you had yesterday. And I mean, there is a way to strip your life and exist and just live and interact with people and sell a lot of stuff. There is.
Yeah.
And all I think
I don't
about,
think she's allowed to sell anything right now while this bankruptcy is pending.
so maybe
Which will be
that's it.
interesting to see, because she tried at the beginning and they filed a motion. She was selling on one of the like
Yeah.
type resellers, and they're like, no, we have to figure out what we're auctioning, and we still haven't seen all of that complete yet.
We haven't seen all that complete. And all I know is like when you say like, maybe someone could swoop in and pay your bills. All I think about as I watch is like, girl, you better forget about everyone except for that Diana, and you need to stay close to her. And if there's ever going to be
You
someone,
need some rich friends, honey.
right? And she has that. That's the thing. Like you're on a private jet heading to Hawaii. It's like her life ain't so bad. I mean, you have these friends that you had before that are not turning their backs on you. You have some really rich friends that if they all wanted to put a little something in, it would help. I don't know.
And they have stayed around. And I think that goes to, this people I think are still able to say, well, we still don't know. This was what her husband did. So it's, we're here for our friend. Her spouse did something awful. And we don't know what she knew or how she benefited. And so I can see why you still have cast members staying around. And I can see why you have other cast members going, yeah, but this is like, you're saying you don't know if they're owed any money. And that just doesn't feel right.
Right. That doesn't feel right. And other than the money, is there anything looming where you really think she could end up in jail, where there's like this criminal element of like, you might be facing time?
Not that I've seen yet. And again, if we're going to see that, I think the IRS would be the first place that we're seeing that from. Because when you're looking at other things, whether there was aiding and abetting of financial crimes of Tom is in a conservatorship. So I don't know if you've got any federal prosecutors that are going to actually spend the time to build a case against him that can't really be prosecuted. So I think if there is more trouble to come for Erika, it's going to be tax trouble and financial trouble. Will that be criminal? Will that be civil? Will that be debt? Only time will tell. There's just not enough information known, but there are a lot of questions about how Tom was moving things around in these businesses. There's a lot of questions about what debts were being written off of what companies. And that all says, tax avoidance red flags. And if Erika's signing those documents, she's going to end up in the same position potentially as Teresa Giudice. Because do any of us think Teresa is like the mastermind behind anything that they were doing? No, she's signing the things. She's like, whatever, I sign it. And she ended up in prison just like her husband did. So could Erika find herself in that situation because she signed those and said in her book, like, I know how much we're making, I'm signing the tax returns? That could come back to bite her.
Right. It's all evidence, people. It's all evidence.
Yep.
Well, as they say, innocent until proven guilty. But one person who we know is guilty because she admitted she was guilty is Miss Jen Shah. I wasn't as shocked as you were. I don't think. I don't